Electric-only brand Polestar continues their expansion of products here in the US, and I'm here on the show floor of the 2024 New York International Auto Show, and this right here is their latest model, a 2025 Polestar 4. Let's take a first look. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling of this new Polestar 4, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's underneath here because, as you guys know with EVs, everybody wants to know, does this vehicle have a frunk? And as you can see, unlike previous Polestar models, I'm happy to report that it does, although it's a very, very small frunk. I mean, you'd have some trouble even putting the mobile charger in this vehicle, but it's nice that at least Polestar gives you an actual frunk for this vehicle. And now, while we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the Powertrain specs, because here in America, it'll launch in two different variants. You can get this vehicle in a single motor rear drive configuration, delivering around 272 horsepower, 253 pound-feet of torque. This model here that I'm showing you, however, is the dual motor all-wheel drive version, which means it has 544 horsepower and 506 pound-feet of torque. This model, Polestar says, is going to be the quickest accelerating vehicle that they're going to offer to date, doing 0 to 60 in around 3.8 seconds. It has a 102 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and while we don't have the final range figures yet, this should, or at least Polestar is targeting around 300 miles of all-electric range at least. This performance version is probably going to do a little less. This will accept up to 200 kilowatts of max DC fast charging because, as you guys know, it runs on the 800-volt architecture. So compared to the Polestar 3, which is also one of their newer SUVs, this has a lot less power, but it's also going to cost significantly less as well. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling of this vehicle, because some of you may be confused about the positioning of the Polestar 4, because for me, I actually thought this car was supposed to be like an SUV coupe version of the Polestar 3, but in reality, Polestar says this is kind of positioned in between the Polestar 2 and 3, and they're calling this vehicle an SUV coupe, but from the looks of it, I don't know if you guys can tell, it looks more like a sedan to me. It definitely doesn't have the ground clearance or the height that you get with an SUV, but you can see the front fascia has the usual Polestar design elements here that also is kind of blended with Volvo, because as you guys know, this is Volvo's performance electric luxury brand. You can see it has the a new variation of the Thor's hammer LEDs, where you can see you have now dual light blades here, which is a very interesting touch to it. They're actually kind of spread out a little bit further, where you have this also a nice little positioning LED daytime running light. Your actual headlights are down here where they're LED low and high beam. Down here you also will find active grille shutters. No need for an actual grille, obviously, because this is a fully electric car, but you have the usual here with the front camera, their safety shield system, and being that this is a Polestar, it's going to have their latest suite of advanced driver assistance tech, although it doesn't have the LiDAR sensor that you find on the roof. That's typically something that I've seen on something like the Volvo EX90 or, of course, the Polestar 3. But looking at the rest of the side profile of this vehicle, you can see this again kind of makes me think that it's actually a sedan as opposed to an SUV. I'm going to go ahead and close these doors here. Sorry guys, I'm going to close these really quick. But in terms of the profile of the vehicle, you can see it's around 190.6 inches long. It rides on a 118-inch long wheelbase. So this is, again, kind of like a mid-sized sedan, although, again, Polestar is quick to point out that this is supposed to be an SUV. But if you guys think this is an SUV, let me know in the comment section below, because, again, I don't see it. Now, this particular one that I'm showing you here is the performance pack model. So you have these big 22-inch wheels. I actually love the way these wheels look. I think Polestar and Volvo does a good job with their wheels. They kind of have like a nice little twin spoke design with the machine black and the machine look on the outside. You have these massive 15.5-inch brake rotors with the yellow painted Brembo calipers. These are a 265 size tire in the front and in the rear, so it's a square profile for the tire. And then looking at the rest of the profile here, you can see this is the camera for the full 360 camera system. You have even more cameras and sensors here underneath the side mirrors. And then, of course, you can see this model also has a panoramic glass roof, which is a nice touch. Now, this model also has these pop-out door handles that retract or they go flush, depending on, of course, whether the vehicle is locked or unlocked. And then that panoramic glass roof, like I said earlier, is going to be standard. Now, this angle here you can see is definitely unique, because this is probably a point of controversy, because as you can see, there's no glass back here. Now, Polestar did that on purpose to kind of give it the style of design that they were looking for. There is an integrated third brake light back here along with the camera system. That camera system is very important because that's for a digital camera review mirror. It's obviously needed when you don't have an actual glass window back here to actually see out of the back through a traditional camera. You can see the rest of the styling here. It's got the full LED light blade back here with the Polestar badge here. It's also very clean, very minimalistic, but again, it reminds me more like a sedan versus an actual SUV. Now, in terms of the cargo area, this is typically a power opening and closing hatch, but right now on the auto show, it's going to be a manual hatch, and Polestar didn't have any cargo figures just yet, but you can see back here, I'd probably say it has a good like 20 cubic feet of space. Obviously, you can fold down those seats to expand the cargo, but unlike, SUVs, actual SUVs, you can't really pile stuff to the roof in this vehicle. You can see underneath the floor here, which I would be able to open it, but it looks like it's been actually sealed shut, so you can't actually view it. But overall, you can see the cargo area is certainly very usable, but it's also, you know, supposed to be an SUV. So I'd say calling it an SUV, for me at least, is a little bit of a stretch. Now moving on to the interior of the very sleekly styled Polestar 4. First of all, this is my first time actually sitting inside this interior, and I have to say, it definitely has a slightly different feel versus the Polestar 3 that I just got out of. You can see the seats, they are power adjustable, I believe in like 12 different ways. You also have a power retractable thigh extender. These seats also have kind of an interesting finish where you have like a textile cloth material mixed in with some faux leather materials. The seats also have a much more sportier look and vibe to them. You also have these nice gold seat belts to kind of show that you're in the performance package model. But overall, it definitely also feels modern and sophisticated, but also a slightly different vibe here, because as you can see, in terms of the infotainment screens, the orientation of the center screen has now been flipped to more of a landscape orientation. So in the Polestar 3 and in the Polestar 2, you have a vertically oriented tablet. This screen, however, is the biggest screen currently in the Polestar family. It's a 15.4-inch display, so it's kind of like the same size as what you find in like a Tesla Model 3. It runs, of course, on Android Automotive. It has Google built in. The interface, although right now I can't seem to get it to work. Remember, this is a very early pre-production car. You can see there's all your usual widgets where you can access. The vehicle should also have, as you can see, Apple CarPlay, although I'm not entirely sure if it's of the wireless variety. It also will have embedded Google Maps built in, GPS, of course, and if you basically want to sign into your Google account, you should be able to basically mirror it here, because think of this kind of like as a tablet computer. It also will have voice commands, I believe, where you can say, hey, Polestar, and it'll start doing whatever commands you'd like. This vehicle also has a power tilt telescoping steering column, so it's one of the, again, newer vehicles that Polestar and Volvo has that has a power tilt telescoping steering column. In terms of the materials, you can see this upper door panel has actually a soft touch injection molded plastic where it feels kind of like leather. There's this kind of interesting textile weave here where you have this kind of piano black accent. You have a padded armrest pad over here. The window controls also, they feel different and unique. Actually, I like the way they feel. They're actually accented in metal. They have a nice high quality feel to them, and they're also one touch for all four. So I really love that touch. You can see there's the door handle where if I pull that, that actually will open up the door for you. So it actually has a mechanical connection to it. And then over here on the center stack, you can see very minimalistic, but also very high tech and just clean. You can see the dash vents. It looks like they are actually power, so they're controlled via what's here actually on the screen. If you go into the climate control, you can see it has dual zone climate control function as well, where you can again kind of adjust the air quality here. It has a sensor. You can also adjust right here, turn the actual climate system on, and you can see there's where you adjust the air vents from here, which again is futuristic, but I think I much prefer an actual manual control. You have a wireless phone charging pad here. There's a nice little aluminum cover for the cup holders. You have a big volume knob here, and then if you open that up, you can see you have relatively good sized cup holders. I love the clicky sound, that satisfying click that you get when you are using the volume knob. There's also more additional storage down here, which is a nice little touch to put a couple of items. There's a nice little padded center console here. You can see there's leather going across the center console area here. There's more nice materials here on the upper portion with the actual stitching, some ambient lighting here, which I'll have to wait until I get one back home to see what it looks like at night. And then if I open this up, you can see there's two USB-C charging ports in there. There's a pretty decent storage cubby. But overall, you can see, I like the fact that Polestar kind of went with a different look in this interior. But in case you guys are wondering, there's the digital camera rearview mirror. It's the first Polestar model that I've seen with it. You can obviously turn it off if you'd like, but why would you do that? Because there's no view out of the back when you actually have that open. But you can see there, that actually gives you a bigger panoramic display of what's actually behind you. So that's technically better versus an actual glass. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. Above me here, you can see that big panoramic glass roof is standard. It also has the Polestar star illuminated in the actual roof panel. There's also a nice little suede Alcantara in the actual roof lining material, which again gives it a nice upscale touch. And overall, I really like the vibe in here. It's very futuristic and modern, but it also has very comfortable seats and really great materials. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area because I want to see what that space is like back here. Now, obviously, the pop-up door handles, they certainly give it a futuristic vibe when you get in. Now, getting back here, I don't have the actual legroom figures just yet, but this is with the seat all the way back, so you can see. Obviously, it's not going to appear as roomy. I'd probably say it has around 35, maybe 36 inches of legroom. Once you're back here, you can see headroom space is not bad. I can lay my head completely back and my hair doesn't come close to that. I'm only 5'7", so I'm not the tallest. I also love these headrests. They're pretty soft and comfortable, which is nice. So you have the same materials from the front seat carried over into the rear with this is soft touch injection molded plastic. Padded over here, you also have a nice little metal accents for the window controls. You have rear seat air vents here on the B pillar, which is nice. You have two storage cubbies over here. here. You have more rear seat vents here. You have your actual climate control features over here where you can actually adjust the airflow and actually change, it looks like, the ambient lighting and the interior color back here. You can see the floor is almost completely flat, which is nice. This is an EV. I would expect that. And then if you want to fold this down here, that actually folds down to reveal a little bit of a storage area, and you can see this actually includes a power reclining rear seat back, which I didn't expect. You can see there's actual controls here on the actual armrest that allow you to recline the seat forward and back, which again, I didn't expect. There's no additional storage here. I expected this to actually pop open. And if you're also wondering, cup holders, push that open here. You can see there's some pop-out cup holders, so that again gives you a nice little backseat area. But overall, if you're looking for something with more backseat space in the Polestar family, you might want to check out the Polestar 3, which is actually an SUV. So obviously the Polestar 4 is a very peculiar vehicle in the Polestar lineup, but I have to say I really like weird cars. So after finally seeing the Polestar 4 in person, I think this is going to be a really excellent addition to the Polestar family. And although some of you may be confused about the naming because you would assume the Polestar 4 would be like a bigger vehicle, it's technically, what it means is it's just the fourth vehicle in the Polestar lineup. And it's also going to reflect its positioning in the pricing, because I was actually very surprised when Polestar announced the pricing of this vehicle. The base single motor rear drive unit is going to start at around $54,900. 54 grand. I wasn't expecting it to be that affordable. If you guys want all-wheel drive, it's going to cost you around $62,900. This model that I'm showing you here, however, is the performance model. So it basically has all the bells and whistles. It's going to start at around $72,900. So again, considerably more expensive, but considering the fact that this car looks very much like a concept car, it's going to continue to turn heads, especially with the Polestar branding. A lot of people don't realize Polestar is actually a division of Volvo. I have to say, it's certainly going to be a nice addition when this goes on sale. Now, speaking of which, order banks for this vehicle are going to open up in April, so next month. And then Polestar says you should expect US deliveries to begin in the fourth quarter of this year. So you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but I think once you get your hands on it, I think people are going to be driving around something that's super interesting, super cool, futuristic, and modern. I think that's exactly what Polestar was going for with this Polestar 4. For Redline Reviews here at the 2024 New York International Auto Show, I'm Sofyan Bey.